Hi, I'm Jenny McCafferty, and it's my pleasure to introduce President Emeritus of Eastern Michigan University, Bill Shelton. Now, Bill, you've been marketing higher education. This is, I think now in East Carolina, this is your fourth institution, so you really have thought a lot about marketing nonprofits, especially higher education. Can you tell our students some of the strategies you use to do that?
Thank you, Jenny. You know, when we talked about marketing higher education many years ago, we kind of covered our mouth because we did not want the academy to in any way be tainted by the concept of some corporate model or business model such as marketing. Most of us got into marketing more out of a crisis situation than we did out of an intentional situation. The first marketing that I experienced in higher education, I did not have any formal education in marketing, but I was at an institution in the South that, because of an intemperate remark by a member of the legislature, there was this characterization of the institution where I was working at that time as to having a very serious problem. And so suddenly we had a huge decline in the enrollment at that institution. In fact, over a 2-year period, we lost 20% of the students at that institution. I mean, it was a very critical situation. The president of the university at that time, an elderly gentleman, retired military, called me into the office one day. I was the dean of students at that time, and he basically said, we're in trouble, and we're in trouble. And so from that, we restructured a division, and I took over in charge of that on a marketing concept, and I became more than fascinated. I became obsessed with marketing, frankly, and read everything, and just I could not get enough. And you know, you go back and you think about, Peter Drucker said the aim of marketing is to make selling superfluous. And you know, then you also think about that marketing is based on differentials and not similarities. And I went through all of these things, and so really, from emerging from that was my realization that today, in the very competitive environment, we're competing for students, we're competing for resources, we're competing for the attention of the legislature, we're competing all of these different arenas, private money, public money, all of this. And so it is a competitive market, and we need to acknowledge this in higher education. If you looked at the operating budgets for just the admissions divisions of the schools and the universities in the state of Michigan, much less all over the United States, and look at the size of their budget on brochures and on the four color and on the different ways, it's very clear that it's a competitive market. And because of that, marketing is very much a legitimate role for institutions of higher learning, because we need to explain to those prospective students and those political people who support us and those who give us their private knowledge, we need to explain what's different. And we talk, you know, all of us have in our brochures, we talk about excellence and quality. And indeed, when you look back at it, those are things that should be expected in higher education. That should be. And if you took those kinds of words out of all of these brochures, if you took any admissions brochure and you take out the word quality and you take out the word excellence, you've got about half a document left. I mean, all of us use that so much. Those should be reasonable expectations, but what we have to do, and what we did at Eastern Michigan some years ago, I really believe, is to think about how then do we can say that we're a quality institution. But what's the measure? And that's when we came up with something back then called as building the learning university. And we said there's one measure at that institution, not how many football games you win, and I'm glad to see we're winning more than we used to there. Not how many great plays are put on, and we have a wonderful performing arts part of that institution and some superstars that have come out of that program. Not how beautiful the campus is, although that's very important, and that's part of marketing the institution. But we said there's going to be one way that we want to be evaluated, and that's the quality and significance of what students actually learn. So we took that marketing tack, building the learning university, not a teaching, not a research. And I think the key, as I look back on that period of time, the key that really said to me that finally the concept of a learning university was when a member of the faculty and wrote me this letter. Now, there's some people have described the university as a group of people held together by a common complaint about parking, and I think that's probably true. At least that's what I found as a president for those years. But he wrote me this letter, and the third paragraph into this letter, he had a problem finding parking space. And thirdly, he said, after all, since we are the learning university, so I knew then that we had gotten there. Now, before the Eastern experiment for me, or experience for me, which was wonderful, 11 years, and certainly during those 11 years, and it's not because of what I did, it was because of what a whole group of people at university did. We had our highest enrollment. We were up almost 26,000. Which we learned that was too many students for a campus of our size, but apparently some of it worked during those period of time. But before that, I was at Kent State University, and we had to engage because of the events of May 4th, 1970. They still were living under that shadow. And the new president, when he brought me on as vice president for institutional advancement, he said, we've got to emerge. We've got to come. We've got to go. We've got to move because we were losing enrollment and all those things. And we did a very aggressive campaign. And certainly we recognized at that time that we had to talk about the events of May 4th, 1970, which had not been the posture of the institution. We had refused to talk about it, to talk about that so that we could talk about the other elements. And again, if you think marketing is based on differentials, the president and I went to an event somewhere out in California when I was at Kent as a vice president. We walked into this room and we were talking, and I said, Mr. President, I want you to think about this. You're the president of an institution that, because of some very unfortunate events, but an institution who has name recognition all over the world. And so marketing based on different, you don't want that to be the way you get the name recognition. But marketing is so important. And people like Bob Dodge, who was one of those people that understood marketing at Eastern Michigan University, and certainly his leadership through all of those years really pushed that forward. And I think that he understood that we are in a competitive society, whatever it is. And so the key is marketing. The aim of marketing is to make selling superfluous. And if Drucker believed that, I think we've seen it. And so I really believe that marketing, high quality marketing, not shyster stuff, not giving away bicycles, although that's okay, but quality marketing makes a difference in the quality of the institution. That's kind of how I look at it.